everyone. My name's Shannon Baird. I am the Director of Operations of Lundy. I've done a couple of trainings before with FMLS to show finding homes. And so if you have done that before, thank you. Thanks for coming back. I will highlight the AI a bit more specifically. I will do a demonstration of how to use it and all of the features that are available in your market. Before I get into that, there it goes. Can you guys see my screen? Great, thank you. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about our company, why we do what we do, and why Finding Homes was created. Both Justin and I think that this is really important for driving consumer adoption as you guys are really on the ground using this product with your market. And it is quite different than a lot of other products that might be available and tools that are available to you in your toolbox from the MLS. So I'll talk a little bit about our inception and our mission, and then get into the demo and features of Finding Homes. So I'm going to tell a little bit of Justin's story. Justin, feel free to jump in if you want. So Justin, he was exposed to the visually impaired community through his mother-in-law, Diane, who I've also had the pleasure of meeting. And Diane has a degenerative eye disease called retinitis pigmentosa. And a few years ago, before Justin started Lundy and started Finding Homes, he was a real estate agent in San Diego, California. And one of him and Diane's favorite things to do together was to look at homes, window shop for homes like many of us enjoy doing. And she was almost 80 at the time and had become legally blind. With retinitis pigmentosa, your peripheral vision goes smaller and smaller and smaller until you no longer can see much at all. And when the family was trying to figure out what they needed to do in order to help Diane maintain her independence, should she get a service dog? Should she get a cane? They, of course, stumbled across the issue of, well, she can't really access the internet in the same way anymore. Most people that are visually impaired, in order to access the internet that feels more similar to people that are sighted, is through the use of a screen reader, which is a completely auditory experience, but they're really hard to learn how to use. If your phone has ever gotten stuck in like voiceover mode, that's what it sounds like when you're on the internet. It's very overwhelming, and given her age, it just wasn't something that she was willing to take on and be able to learn at that time. So with this exposure and this problem came the idea of, well, what if we could use voice assistants, something that Diane was very comfortable using, such as Alexa or Siri, and be able to shop for homes by voice rather than having to go onto the internet with all of the visual information that is there. So Finding Homes was born, and we've been able to harness the power of natural language processing, large language models more recently, to connect all real estate shoppers with an easy and on-demand, very accessible home search journey. And we now have a multimodal experience that I'll go into in a little bit. So it's really created for anyone, even though originally it was created for, or useful for anyone, even though it was originally created for the visually impaired. With the exposure, there's a few statistics here about blindness in the United States. Like I mentioned, most people do age into blindness. With the exposure from Diane, with her having this long-term degenerative eye disease, Justin was exposed to the National Federation of the Blind, and we partnered with them very early on with our original version of the skill, which is very, very, very different than what you're going to see today. In order to do a focus group with blind users. And they helped us to give a ton of feedback, find bugs, break it, put it back together again in order to really make it a usable journey for them. They were so excited, and this excitement continues today, to have a product that was built specifically for them, with them in mind. We also learned a lot through interviews with our participants. We learned things like what their experience had been like if they had ever shopped for a home before. And we learned that most of them had virtually been left out of the process. And that wasn't something that they wanted. They were totally dependent on someone that was sighted to not only shop for the homes, but also to do all the paperwork and just tell them about what was going on. And they didn't really have any autonomy with that. So like I mentioned, they were really thrilled to hear about this. And even with our very rudimentary skill that we started with, And every time we get a chance to go to an NFB chapter meeting or talk to, we've done a few virtual meetings as well as in person, they're just thrilled this is something that is completely free to them. So thank you to the MLS to be able to provide this service for your visually impaired community. I've also talked with agents that have mentioned other disabilities that this has been really beneficial for their clients. They might have had like a fine motor skill disability, so pointing and clicking really wasn't an option for them. So to be able to access home listings by voice was really cool. Since 2022, we've expanded into lots of markets. We have over 30% coverage. We have been really excited about this expansion, but one of the issues that we have ran into when we go to some of these chapter meetings is that, for example, last year we were in Alabama and I had a woman who was trying to search for homes in Idaho because that's where her daughter lived. And she was like, I don't understand, why can't I find them? Well, we really want to be able to have this available to anyone, no matter where they're searching. And so I like to mention this. FMLS is a pro partner, but we do have a free version of this just in case you're ever searching in another region. There are some features that you just won't have access to, but to the user, they don't know. But we do offer that as an industry benefit. And so there are some regions that are our access partners and some regions that are our pro partners like FMLS. All right, so what is Finding Homes? As I mentioned, it is available through Alexa devices or the Alexa app. So it's very different than other tools. It's not something that you're necessarily going to be able to, you don't need a separate login. You don't need to do it through your dashboard. If you have an Amazon account, free or not, you can access this skill. And so in order to access it, I'll show you how it works. But we syndicate all active listings by voice, partnering with your MLS, and we push those through the Alexa platform. The reason we originally chose Alexa is because it's actually one of the most widely used voice assistants. It's in millions of homes across the country, and it makes can turn your phone into an Alexa device if you download the app. It's available now through Alexa Auto. It's available through Fire Stick TV. It's really everywhere. But you may be thinking, well, my voice assistant's not that great. You might use it to add items to your grocery list or maybe turn on lights or music. Mine often get confused with if I'm in the bathroom or the bedroom, what I'm asking it to do. So they're not that great. A couple of years ago, ChatGPT came on the scene and we actually completely rebuilt our platform. And ChatGPT is a large language model. It is AI, and there's lots of other versions of this. With ChatGPT, we've been able to unlock a very conversational, intuitive experience, and you're no longer limited to that phrase-based interaction that you might be used to, typical of voice assistants. So currently, we use the most advanced commercially available large language model that's been specifically trained with RISO standardized fields and fair housing guidelines, along with all of the public-facing fields that we get from the MLS. And what that means for you is that when you're searching, it's really just sticking to all of that information. It's not scraping the internet for other information. It's staying within the confines in order to have this really cool search experience. The use of large language models is embedded everywhere now. It is AI. They're enhancing commonly used features. Whether or not you are actively pursuing it, it is now at the top of your search results when you are using Google. I noticed this week in my Gmail, it's now suggesting how to write an email for me. It's already in our CRM, and those are things that we didn't necessarily ask for. They're just there, right? So whether or not you're looking for this and trying to figure out how can I use this, you probably are already accessing it in some way. And if you've ever used Finding Homes, you've also been using it. All right, let me go into search by scenario. So as I mentioned, this unlocks our feature that we call search by scenario. And I just like to highlight this before I do the demonstration. You're no longer limited to searching with bedrooms, bathrooms, price, and location. You really just need to know where you're searching, and Finding Homes will help you to fine-tune your search and do the rest. So you can have a completely intuitive conversation with Finding Homes in order to help you figure out the features that you're looking for within a home. Okay. So this is an Echo Show 15. It's a large screen device. The way that I'm going to access Finding Homes works the exact same way, no matter what type of Alexa Echo you're on. If you have one of the old school speakers, our CTO actually still uses the first generation Alexa in order to do this. You can have one of the tower speakers, the Alexa app, like I mentioned, and any of the smaller Echo Show series as well. Anything, one of their tablets, anything that has that technology works the same way. The reason why we have a multimodal version, like I mentioned with that focus group, they actually requested that we have a sighted version of Finding Homes in addition to an auditory version. And that was so that way they could shop with their family, no matter if they were sighted or not. We did find that most people are partnered. Most blind folks are partnered with someone who is sighted. So that's why we have it. All right, Alexa, start Finding Homes.
Welcome back to Finding Homes. Would you like to continue your recent search in Missouri?
Start over.
Let's start a new search. You can search by bedrooms, bathrooms, price, city and state, or you can just tell me about your situation and I'll figure out the details.
My boyfriend and I are moving to Atlanta, Georgia to buy our first single family home. We have 2 dogs and lots of houseplants, and we both work from home. Our budget's between $750,000 and $900,000.
Just a moment. It sounds like you and your boyfriend need a spacious home with room for your dogs and house plants, as well as work from home spaces. I'll look for single-family homes in Atlanta, Georgia, within your budget of $750,000 to $900,000. Here are the properties that match your request. The first is 2348 Brookhurst Drive. This is a single-family residence with 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, listed at $799,000. Say yes if that's the one you want, or at any time say next if you want to hear the next one.
Yes.
Welcome to 2348 Brookhurst Drive. What can I tell you about this home?
Why do you think it'd be a good fit for us?
This home in Dunwoody North offers a spacious layout with almost 4,000 square feet, perfect for accommodating your work from home needs. The fenced backyard is ideal for your dogs and house plants, and the community features amenities like a dog park and walking trails.
I am the main cook in my family, and I like to host a lot of people for the holidays.
Just a moment. The kitchen is well equipped with custom cabinetry, granite countertops, a double oven, and a gas cooktop, making it ideal for cooking and hosting. The separate dining room and spacious family room with a wood-burning fireplace provide ample space for entertaining guests during the holidays.
Next property.
Welcome to 3020 Park Ridge Drive. What can I tell you about this home?
How would this house work for my dogs?
The home features a fenced backyard, providing a safe and secure space for your dogs to play. The private yard also offers plenty of room for them to roam and enjoy the outdoors.
Favorite this property?
Okay, I've added this property to your favorites. You can navigate to your favorites list by saying visit favorites.
Return to search results.
Sure, let's return to your search.
Alexa,
Your last
compare these homes by their backyard.
Sure, here are your filtered results.
And compare these homes by their kitchens.
Sure, here are your filtered results.
I'd like to modify my search to include homes up to $1 million.
Give me a moment to process your request. Here are the properties that match your request.
All right.
So that was amazing, by the way, Shannon. Good job. The device itself isn't blurry like that, so your listings don't come through super blurry. That was just her
My lighting in here.
her camera's resolution, but they come through just like they do on the internet, very clear and crisp, and all the data's there. But that was cool.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, that was an example of the search by scenario. I didn't specify the size of the home I was looking for. I was just saying who needed to live there. You can get as specific as you want. I actually talked with, she was an FMLS agent that reached out to me a couple weeks ago. And she had such a great search. I wish I had recorded it. It was like asking about extra buildings on the property. She wanted multiple trees on the property. She was asking for a place for chickens. And like it was really cool. And it found multiple homes that fit within that criteria. It will always try to match as best as it can. We call it fuzzy matching, as best as it can to all of that criteria with the most recently listed house. So if I were to go back to that search tomorrow, it would ask me if I wanted to continue my search in Atlanta. If anything has been added to that, will be there and updated because it updates about every 5 minutes. I showed you guys the compare by feature. So when you're in the search results list, you can compare by any major feature of the home. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but when I was asking about certain parts of the home, like when I was talking about that I was the main cook in the family, it was just going through images of the kitchen. So it'll just cycle through something within that context. If something isn't tagged for some reason, it may not show up, but that's the only reason why it wouldn't be there. It's also completely, it works the exact same way in Spanish. You just have to switch your Alexa device to be able to speak Spanish. And then you start it with the phrase that I have up here, Iniciar buscando casas. I'm not going to have you guys suffer through my Spanish, but this device actually is, I can set it to is set to bilingual. So if I start talking to it in Spanish, it will respond in Spanish. If I start talking to it in English, it will respond in English, which is pretty cool. And I have a bunch of resources I can share again with you, Bethany, to show folks how to switch their devices if they need it. The last thing that I'll mention is that it is still running through Alexa, right? So even though once you've started the skill, you're interacting with our LLM or with an LLM, it is still helpful to know. I saw some of you said that your Alexa device started while I was talking to it. I apologize, I forgot to warn you. But it's helpful to know things like how to interrupt it. You can ask it to talk faster or slower, things like that. But you do not need to stick to any phrase. Once you get it going, it's just trying to pick up on specific words that you're saying and sticking within those public facing fields and guidelines. So that is it for the demo. Thank you all for the love in the chat. I appreciate it. So as I mentioned, this is one of the examples of how we use AI in our technology. Both Justin and I work very closely with large language models and AI every single day. So we're happy to answer any questions that you might have that are either pertaining to finding homes or if you have something that's more broad. But I'm going to pass it over to Justin to kick that off.
So for the question, are there any other languages? It's just English and Spanish right now, but if you do have a suggestion on what language we can do next, we are looking for that. We were thinking French just because we're starting to expand up into Canada, but we can, do whatever. Yes, there is a recording. Okay, so can we use our computer screen or use the computer as the screen instead of an Alexa Echo? No, you cannot. The Alexa devices, Finding Homes is built exclusively on Alexa at this time. Some cars have screens that allow for the visuals to pop up there on the screen. And even if you're using your phone, you won't be able to see the listings. You can only have the audio conversation. So you do need an Echo Show, one of the show series, whether it's the smaller ones or the one Shannon was showing is the 15. I think they now have a 21 also, which is a little ridiculous. And that's it for now. It does not work on Google devices. It works on nothing else, just Alexa at this time. Is there anything we need to do so that Alexa knows to use Finding Homes Pro? No, all you have to say is start finding homes. It will use whatever's available in that area. So if you're searching the FMLS database, it will be pro. If you're searching for homes in Las Vegas, it'll be the free version. It won't have the images tagged and it won't have all of the fields, just kind of the top 100. Okay, question says, does the quality, oh, where'd it go? Does the quality of the result depend on the listing agent input? Sort of. The more descriptive you can be in the listing description, the better. But really, it's about the data, like filling out as many fields as possible. A problem with a lot of these listings is the agent will reduce to the required and only fill that in and send it. And while that's helpful, there's a lot of stuff missing, right? Like Shannon's asking about her dogs and how this home is good for them. If the fencing isn't required and you just kind of skip over it, it doesn't know, or it might not find that property because it assumes the backyard's not fenced, right? So the more data that you can put in about the MLS, it's pulling from both all of the fields and the listing description. And as you saw, we're tagging the images again using AI. We just run it through an AI to pull out all of the features in a home. Right now, we're using that data to show you the room types, but in the future, we're going to use everything it pulls out of the photos to also use in search. So if I was to say, I really want a home with a long driveway that's lined by oak trees, that's not available in the MLS data, but the images would see that, and then we can include that in the search results and only find those homes. But back to your original question. The better the data, the better the search results. Sorry, I'm getting behind here.
No worries. We can help you out a little bit if you want.
Yes, please.
Okay, so there is one that someone asked, does it work with a Google device?
No, only Alexa.
Okay, excellent. And I see Shannon jumped in and answered in the chat in terms of description of the homes. Does it only pull from information listed in the MLS or does it pull from other sources? And she said it is only pulling from the public facing fields. Dalen asked, does the quality of the result depend on the listing agent's input?
Yes.
And you answered that one already. Shannon answered, are all of your past searches saved? And is there a way to go back to previous searches? Shannon said it saves one search at a time. If you say start over, it wipes the slate clean.
Yes. Yeah, and multiple searches we could do in the future. That's a good idea. All right. To confirm, can it be
Accessed, I'm assuming.
accessed with a Fire TV? Yeah, actually, that's one of my favorite ways to use this. I've got a 7-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. And so doing a home search on 75 inches in my living room is like one of the most fun things because, you talk into the remote with a Fire Stick, give it the scenario, and then all the pools, right? And it switches to all the photos of pools. And my daughter's like, well, where's my bedroom going to be? And then it'll talk to her about the bedrooms and, which one might be the most appropriate. And it's like, there's something about home search that has been very kind of individual as it currently is. Like my wife and I will be looking for a home and we'll be sitting next to each other on the couch, texting each other listings on Zillow. And then we're looking at it on this tiny little device, right? So it's like, if we could expand that to the family and make it a lot more of a collaborative effort, I just think there's something there. It's, kind of fun and really cool. What else?
You are actually caught up at this time with questions that were in there. Oh, we just got a new one. How do we
Okay.
send this to our clients?
Yeah, so if you have clients that have Alexa devices, they just need to know the wake word, which is finding homes, the name of the skill. So you say start finding homes or begin finding homes, and Alexa already knows what to do. The skill is enabled. So they'll be able to begin to search that way. I would say if you're sending it to your buyers, once they find properties that they like, have them communicate back to you, right? Hey, I like this property, you know, and then any questions that they have. Don't keep going with Alexa about like, how do I see this property, or can you have somebody call me? Because the only data we have about that listing is the listing agent. So again, it's just like if your buyers are looking on Zillow or anywhere else, make sure they know to reach back out to you if they want to see that property or have more questions. There was something else I wanted to say, but then I forgot when I was answering that question.
It'll come to you
Yes.
probably as soon as we hang up, but
Yeah. Does anybody have questions on, oh, can it pinpoint the search down to the subdivision? Are we doing that yet?
It depends. It works with it's worked. It depends on the location. I haven't tried it specifically with FMLS data. But it does do by zip code. So you can do that, which I know can be a little bit better especially if you're looking in a large metro area like Atlanta. But one of the things that is available to you guys is, and maybe Bethany can answer this, but with we have all of your public facing fields. So unlike access partners, so anything that's unique to your market will be in there, and you can add that to your search. What I don't know about subdivision is if it will, because of the way it's matching with your other criteria, if it will only give you homes in that subdivision. So if you're being pretty general and you just ask for that subdivision, it should, but if you're getting pretty specific, it might give you a mixture of things that are of homes that are nearby.
I have a question on that. So with our agents that are using Matrix, we've found that in the Metro Atlanta area, and I'm sure everywhere, sometimes subdivisions are not always spelled the same or referred, the same. So, for example, in Canton, Georgia, it might be Bridge Mill or it might be Bridge Mill Heights, which is technically a different subdivision, but sometimes people don't fill it out right. So there's a wild card that you can use. So I don't know if would Alexa pick up kind of that wild card feature for a subdivision name?
It should. It's got fuzzy matching already.
Okay,
So if you're saying, because even town names, sound similar to,
right.
another one. So it should, but that would be fun to try.
Okay, and that would really go back to what you were saying earlier, Justin, on it's about how detailed they are in
Mhm.
filling out all of those fields when agents are
Mhm.
entering a property. What about searching within a certain mile radius?
No, not at this time.
Okay,
It's more broad than that.
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And then I know there were a few other questions that popped in there, I
Does
believe.
Does anybody have questions just in general about AI that they've seen agents using or thinking about using or wish that existed? Um, that maybe like you just have questions for in general? Because we use a lot of AI. In fact, we build a lot of other tools besides this, utilizing a lot of advanced AI. So if there's something on the top of your mind, we could also address that.
Well, Justin, I will tell you two that we've gotten in recently because AI is the spotlight of the month for FMLS. And two questions we've gotten repeatedly are, is AI going to take my job? Is it going to replace me as a real estate agent? So,
Hmm.
if you want to speak to that, you certainly can. And another one is, how can I use AI to help streamline my process, to help me be a better real estate agent?
Yeah, I mean, those are great questions. The thing I would say about an AI being a real estate agent, I was an agent for a number of years before we built this company, and there are a number of things I would say off the top of my head. There's like three in particular that AI is nowhere near being able to do. One of them is that personable connection that you have with your clients. Like you didn't get your clients because of that bench ad, right? Maybe you did, but not all of them. A lot of them came from your sphere and your network because they know you to be really knowledgeable and that you are an agent and that, you're great at helping people. What AI can't, AI doesn't have empathy. It doesn't understand the local nuances to submarkets like you guys do that live, in Buckhead or in, the different areas of your marketplace. And AI isn't ready to negotiate yet, like you do on behalf of your customers. It's not able to pick up on visual cues and understand the motivation behind why people are moving or buying or selling. So there is absolutely no immediate concern that AI will become a real estate agent. Um, However, if you're not using AI at all, I would say the bigger concern is the other agents that are using it, because there are a number of things that you have to do every day to be a productive agent, right? If you're listing a property, there's a whole checklist that comes with that. A lot of it you're doing on your own right now. Where AI really helps is 90% of that stuff is kind of busy work that can be automated. And if you're still taking the time to do it on your own instead of letting that AI automate it, there's somebody else that's like 10 steps ahead of you because they are, in fact, leaning on it to do the things that it's good at. So I would say the bigger concern of losing your job to an AI is losing your job to an agent that's using AI. So don't shy away from it if you want to be in this business for a long time. What was the other question that you had? It was like,
Yeah, how can I use it to help my
okay,
real estate business?
yes, which kind of like segued right into that. So, if you're using a CRM, for example, Follow Up Boss or HubSpot or any of these that are well known, you're already using AI in some way. There's like predictive AI that bubbles up your leads to the top. Your Gmail, like Shannon said, is already kind of auto-filling your response. Even if it's just a word or two in front, that's all AI. But some of the things that we see coming out, um, I mean, OcuCell is a great example, right? I think you guys had them on recently. They pre-populate a lot of the data based on the address, and that they use a combination of public data and AI to help fill that in. Um, there there is a lot of like follow-up and lead nurturing technology that's coming out that will keep your clients either not auto reply, but kind of bubble up the answer to their questions so that you can kind of fire off answers quicker. And then actually, we're building a tool for listing input that is a voice interface for listing input that allows you to throw in some headphones and walk around your new listing, describing what you see out loud. And it takes that natural language. Again, you're not talking in MLS fields, you're just describing what you see, and it fills out the MLS for you. In that app, you can also just turn on your camera, and while you're talking to your phone, it's capturing video of your listing, and then it processes that using AI to pull out any additional features that you may not have seen or noticed or knew was an MLS field, right? So those agents that like to reduce to the required and fill that in, this captures everything that is able to be seen. So there's a lot of agents that don't know that, built-in bookshelf is a living room feature because they've never filled that in. But the camera will have seen it and automatically fill that in for you. So there's like there's no shortage of tools that AI will enhance for you. I think just start trying them out, right? And see what you like and see what you like to do with all the time you save. Shannon, have you been in this answering? There's been like a bunch of
I
questions.
didn't get to the last question. That's there.
Are FISBOs included in finding homes? Those don't come through an IDX feed, right? Okay, so
Yeah,
no,
no.
those are not.
Yep.
And can I search
Ooh,
open houses?
that's a good
No,
one.
that is a good idea though. Shannon, write that
Okay.
down.
I
I
wrote
see
down
the
a
wheels
couple of ideas.
spinning. I feel like you are having a product knowledge group right now.
Yeah, this is good. I like
Yeah,
it.
excellent.
Yeah.
We always get lots of ideas from
That's
these.
awesome. Well, yeah, those were the two big questions. And I know for me personally, I shared the other day, this is our second webinar this month on AI in real estate. So there's a great podcast that I listen to called Tech in Real Estate, and this one really talked about the prompting in almost similar to the prompting that you're giving. I said AI, didn't I? Or IA. The prompting in ChatGPT that you can use or in your various CRMs to help really customize your communications with your buyers and sellers and streamline that process. So, really, the art of the prompting. And the link to the podcast is in the chat there. That's not an FMLS chat. It's just a free resource that, as your director of um, training at FMLS, I will always share whatever I can learn on things. And then, Justin, I loved how you went into AI doesn't have empathy. It doesn't have the ability to negotiate, to read, people's faces and whatnot. And really focusing in on that relational equity is something that AI is never going to be able to replace. And
Yeah.
there's a book that I read called Co-Intelligence that really allowed me to learn a little bit more about AI and the large language models, how it's used, how it's developed, it's integrated in all these products that we're using. And it really focused a lot on keeping the human in the loop. And I think at the end of the day, as we can use finding homes and all these different tools to help us, we have to remember to keep the human in the loop as well. So,
Yeah.
the power that's there in that.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's I mean, even for our team, we use AI in just about every layer of our company. Our engineers use it. They've got AI coding assistants. Shannon uses it. I use it. Like we are constantly using it. Just like there are times when I'm like, how did people used to do this? Just like really thinking deeply about a problem and having GPT like O1 reasoning model sitting there to just throw that problem in and have that be part of the group and thinking about solutions. Like without it, so many of those problems may go unsolved, right? That we're just flying through. But to your point, not all of them are good ideas. And with our engineers, their coding assistants make a lot of mistakes. So yes, it accelerates the code they're producing, but if the human's not there, all of a sudden nobody knows why this thing doesn't work, right? Because some tiny little bug early on in the code just broke everything. And so it's not to the point yet where it's even kind of ready to be on its own. But man, does it help you be a lot more efficient and get rid of all those tasks that are just kind of, monotonous and boring, but you have to do. Yeah.
Perfect. I do have another question that came in through the Q&A. This one is from Janaea, and I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. Are you aware of any AI apps that I can upload multiple spreadsheets and ask AI to find email addresses and phone numbers for the addresses and have the data put back into a spreadsheet?
Hmm.
I am not.
That's a good idea. I don't, hmm. I mean, there's
The
probably
top
like
of
an
my head,
Excel.
but it's probably available in some CRMs, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all the like Excel shortcuts either,
Yeah.
which because that kind of sounds like one. Sorry, I
Yep.
don't have
Nope.
one that
Sorry,
I'm aware of.
Janaea, we don't have that for you, but good to ask. Maybe someone else on the call knows of something like that. But I will say, Justin and Shannon, you both said just kind of playing with it and seeing how you can figure out things that it can help with. And if anyone was on the previous webinar, I'm sorry I'm repeating myself, but I have two teenage kids, and I love how they're tapping into this to help them solve problems and be more efficient in things. And, for example, my son is 19 and he coaches hockey, and it's his first time around coaching hockeys, and coaching hockey isn't necessarily a struggle working with the kids. He's great with that, but he was like, "Mom, I'm interacting with parents now. They're emailing me and I don't know how to respond to them in email," because he's of the generation that, you know, everything is texting and
Mhm.
acronyms texting and emojis texting and everything, and he realized he needed to be a little more formal in his tone and communication with parents. And so he started using ChatGPT just to help him not
Mhm.
generate the email itself, but kind of create a framework. What are some suggestions that you have for how I can communicate and email this message to parents? And
Yeah.
it's saved him so much time and
Yes.
streamlined that process for him. So, as an agent, what are some of those things? It doesn't even have to be real estate related that you can look at possibly partnering with AI or outsourcing to AI to help you with.
Yeah. I know, listing descriptions was like an early one when GPT came out. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's going to solve this thing. And that's like, it's good at those, especially the more data it has. And it's such a bottleneck, right? The listing description, I used to hate that part of listing a house. It would take me an hour sometimes. And it would never sound good. But the other thing though, to your point about like not solely relying on it is it's got this familiar pattern. And if you like see the LinkedIn ads or read an email, you're like, oh, GPT wrote this. Because if you do it enough, you start to recognize those patterns and the words that it uses most commonly. And like I had to tell mine to stop saying thrilled. I'm like, we're not saying that word anymore. I know like it's too obvious. As you said, keep the human in the loop, but like save a bunch of time by you know sparking that creativity and even just like the framework of listing description is a easy way to save an hour or whatever it's taking you.
The word was thrilled. It likes
Really?
to use
Yeah.
thrilled. Yeah, someone asked. I also just use it like to Bethany's point about like finding something in your day to day, like it meal plans for me
Mhm.
every week. I will put what I have left over. It will give me ideas about what I can cook and what I still need to go buy at the grocery store. And then I'll ask it to create a grocery list for me. So it's really like, I mean, I've gotten pretty good at that without the use of AI, but it has introduced me to a lot of recipes and things like that that I didn't even think about before. So similarly, my partner is a trainer and he'll put in like he'll get training plans from it. He's found it really helpful, and I can tell you he was very resistant to trying it. I was like, you should just try this. It would really save you a lot of time. Every night he's like, oh, I have to do this training plan. So he started using it. And so those little things too, just in your day to day to free up your time to do your job is also really helpful as well.
So I've got one. The GPT app
Mhm.
has vision now. You can turn on the camera, and it's got audio, so you can talk to it. So if you open up the audio version and open the camera, it's seeing and hearing you. And so my tankless water heater was beeping the other night, and I am not handy. I don't know what the heck's wrong with it. So I open the camera and I'm like, "Do you hear this thing?" And it's like, "Yeah, I hear it. What is it?" And then I turn on the camera and it's looking at it, and a little tiny screen on the water heater was flashing a code. And it's like, "Oh, that's a code 17. You just need to open it up and press this reset button and it's fine." Like I'm ready to call a plumber to come out and like rip this thing off the wall. And it's like, no, 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 just push this button and I'm done. Like literally back in the house in 5 minutes. So it's incredible. Like it saves you time and money.
The power of AI plus YouTube channels, for all the
Oh my
things that
gosh.
we've all
Yep.
looked up, how do I fix my tankless water heater or whatever on
Yep.
YouTube? You've got thousands of savings right there. I don't know.
Totally. Yeah. Poor
All right.
plumbers.
Well, our questions seem to have tapered down a bit. So I am going to go ahead and get us wrapped up at this time. So thank you, Shannon and Justin, for your time. We really, really appreciate it. If you have any further questions regarding finding homes or AI for Shannon or Justin, you are welcome to reach out to Shannon at getlundy.io. And if you have any questions for FMLS for training, we're happy to help you anytime as well. Training at fmls.com. And if you scan the QR code that is on the bottom right of this screen, we can sign you up for our training newsletter where we send out a weekly newsletter on Fridays with the upcoming training events and opportunities, including webinars like this one. So thank you again, everyone, for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.